folks, I'm Tom Vasel, and we are taking a look at 40 years of great games. We are now entering 1993 to 1994, and in the board game and card game realm, this is an amazing 2 years. Combine them with 1995, and they are the pivotal years in the changing of the board gaming landscape. And I'm not saying that lightly. I really believe that that is true because of some of the games we're about to talk about. The third game in this triumvirate of amazing games came out decades before, which was Dungeons and Dragons. But one of those games came out in this time frame. We need to get to that. But 9 games first. Number 10 being Lifeboats. In Lifeboats, there are games today that are cooperative games, and everyone's trying to win together, and it's a wonderful thing. The Lifeboats is the exact opposite. Each turn you vote which of the lifeboats has sprung a leak. Everyone has fallen off a ship with sailors. And then all the people in that lifeboat vote who gets thrown overboard in that lifeboat. Then everyone votes which lifeboats can advance. And you keep doing this over and over again. And unless you're amazing friends at the beginning of the game, you likely won't be mean and nasty, but deliciously fun. Number 9 is a small card game, which has come out in many different forms. I believe Slide 5 was one, but it's 6 nimped. This is a card game that goes up to 10 players. Everyone's playing a card face down. You flip them over, and then you're putting them in rows based on what numbers were played. You don't want to be the person to put the 6th card in a row. Some people declare this game is very random. Other people have a lot of fun with it. And like I said, it just was reprinted in the last 12 months. That's very, very, again, it shows its staying power, and I just enjoy it. Number 8 is Intrigue. Remember when I said Lifeboats was nasty? Intrigue is just as nasty, as players are going to be sending their relatives to go work for other people. And you say, yeah, give me 10,000, this person can work for me. You give me 8,000, I'll let them work for me. I only have one position available. Yours is going off to the island of people who can't get jobs. Oh, it's a mean, nasty game, but fun. Number 7 is Quandary, although it was reprinted as Loco, as Botswana. This is the one Quandary, I think, is a game that has more names than any other game. But essentially, this game in which you are basically bidding on different colors and at the same time changing the value of those colors at the same time. And you have to decide which of these is the best thing to do. It's a really simple, easy game that can get vicious but fun as it back and forth. It's simple. Quandary is my favorite of the group, actually, because it has the nicest components. Number 6, hey, I keep bringing up his name every top 10 list these days in Reiner Knizia, and this is Kingdoms. Kingdoms is a very abstract game, despite the fantasy kingdom theme on top of it, in which you are placing different tiles on a board. When you place a tile on a board, that tile will give points to the row and column it's in. You're also placing your castles in these rows and columns, trying to control that row and column and get points. And so if I put my castle that's worth double points somewhere, and I put a +3, yeah, I get it. Someone else puts a -2. There's some thinking, there's some math, but it's a good, solid game. Kingdoms. Number 5, I'm the Boss from Sid Sackson. Sid Sackson has passed away since this time, and he's made many great games. I'm the Boss is probably his last big hurrah game that came out. And this, another vicious game. This was a vicious bunch of years, apparently, as players are trying to split inheritance, and they keep saying, I'm the boss, and they're in charge of how this inheritance is split, and lots of wheeling and dealing and back and forth card play. An entertaining game, still holds up to today. Number 4 is from a designer in this game, won the Spiel des Jahres, actually, but an unassuming designer who a couple years later would make a game that blew people's mind, but this one is still fantastic, and that's Manhattan. A 3-dimensional game as you build skyscrapers in the city, and you're building them up, and you're trying to have the most skyscrapers in each area, and having the most skyscrapers, period, and then having the tallest one. 3-dimensional pieces, a very simple, easy game to play, and just a great visual look to it as you look and watch these buildings get bigger. Number 3 is a party game, Beyond Balderdash, or Balderdash. Essentially, this party game, which is still going strong today, they actually changed Balderdash later on to become Beyond Balderdash, it's essentially just the dictionary game. But in this game, and Balderdash came out in 1983, 1984, Beyond Balderdash came out these years. It took that game, that dictionary game, and added movie categories to it. It added dates, it added people. And for me, this upped the funness of Balderdash tenfold, really. And I think most people agree because, again, regular Balderdash has been morphed into Beyond Balderdash these days. Number 2, a designer came along and wanted to get, well, I'm just going to talk about numbers 2 and 1 together in a sense. A designer came along to a new company, Wizards of the Coast, and said, I have this card game. and I want to get this published, and he showed it to them. They said, well, we'd like to publish this, but we need something else first, a money maker. So he made a board game for them called Robo Rally. This designer was Richard Garfield. Robo Rally is a board game which they're talking about the reprint of that's coming out this year, but it was a game in which you programmed movement to move robots around on a board, knocking other people's over. A programmable, logical game with guns and robots and take up to 8 players and 6 billion different setups. Not a perfect style game, but a silly fun game, and it's still in my collection, and there's a lot of people are still playing it today. And that little card game he wanted to get made, that collectible card game, I'm sure most people know, was Magic the Gathering, which is probably the most influential board game / card game in existence. You may hate Magic the Gathering, but it is single-handedly keeping over 50% of all game stores in America in business. It is. If Magic disappeared, the gaming store landscape would be a wasteland almost instantly. Magic the Gathering introduced so many things. Cosmic Encounter was the first one that had special powers, but Magic the Gathering introduced the collectible card game genre, which for the next 10 years after 1993-4 just was flooded with these style of games. It introduced the different, a balance between different things like blue, black, white, red, and green. Each one is different in how they feel. It just introduced so many things, and it introduced a huge amount of money and a huge amount of players. I can't tell you how many board gamers I know now who got their start in Magic the Gathering. And for me, while you will sit there and argue over what's the best games from these things, I can't see anyone arguing that Magic the Gathering isn't the greatest game to come out during this time frame, because it changed gaming forever and is still going strong over 20 years later. That's just mind-boggling to me. So those are my top 10 games from 1993 to 1994. What do you think? Put it in the comments. Tell me which games you think are great. Next time, we're going to 1 year at a time now, to 1995, where some more games come and blow everyone's minds.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.